Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into the incredible biological and psychological journey of human development. We're going to trace the path from the microscopic science of our very first cells all the way to owning your personal boundaries as a confident adult. So whether you're curious about the exact biology of reproduction or just looking into how to take empowering control of your own well-being, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get started.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The biology of reproduction. 2. Puberty and physical changes. 3. The psychology of adolescence. 4. Sex, sexuality, and reproduction. 5. The sexual response cycle. And finally, 6. Health, hygiene, and assertiveness.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the biology of reproduction. This is how life begins right at the cellular level.
So human life actually kicks off with these incredibly specialized cells called gametes, which are formed through a process called gametogenesis. In males, this is spermatogenesis, where sperm are produced in the testes starting at puberty. And in females, it's oogenesis, producing ova or egg cells in the ovaries. Now, what makes gametes absolutely fascinating is that they contain exactly half the genetic information of your normal body cells. They're essentially two halves of a blueprint, just waiting to be connected.
And once those two halves connect, an amazing timeline begins. First up, fertilization happens when a sperm and an egg fuse in the fallopian tubes, creating a single cell with complete genetic material, known as a zygote. Next, this zygote rapidly divides over and over to form an embryo. Step 3 is implantation, which is where the embryo securely attaches itself to the lining of the uterus. Finally, we reach fetal development. Because humans are viviparous, meaning our young develop inside the body, the fetus grows safely in the uterus over about 9 months, getting all its oxygen and nutrients through the placenta.
Moving right along to Section 2, puberty and physical changes, the body's visible transformation into adulthood.
To really get puberty, we need to separate the internal reproductive machinery from the outward changes that we all notice. Primary sexual characteristics are your reproductive organs, like the ovaries, testes, uterus, and penis. These are the parts directly involved in reproduction that are actively maturing. Secondary characteristics, on the other hand, are the physical changes that don't directly involve reproduction, but they visually distinguish males and females. Think body hair, voice changes, and breast development. Now, these changes happen on totally different timelines depending on who you are, but they are absolutely 100% normal for both boys and girls. For girls, puberty typically picks off somewhere between ages 8 and 13. You'll see breast development, widening hips, and the start of menstruation, which is the body's way of showing that mature eggs are now being released. For boys, it starts slightly later, usually between ages 9 and 14. We see the enlargement of the testes and penis, the start of sperm production, a deepening voice, and increased muscle mass. But remember, things like sudden growth spurts and body hair, those are shared experiences. It is all a healthy, natural progression toward adulthood.
It's super easy to just focus on the physical stuff, right? The outward changes are so obvious. But to truly understand this journey, we have to ask, what's happening beneath the surface? What exactly happens to the mind while the body is undergoing all of these dramatic physical changes?
Which brings us nicely to Section 3, the psychology of adolescence and the search for identity.
During adolescence, it's like the teenager's brain is effectively upgrading its operating system. You suddenly develop this capacity for abstract thinking and complex reasoning. But alongside that newfound mental sharpness comes increased emotional intensity, and yeah, those classic hormone-driven mood swings. Peer relationships and social acceptance take center stage, and you start building your own personal values separate from your parents. All of this points to one ultimate goal, the search for identity. The biggest takeaway here is that the emotional roller coaster you might feel is a perfectly normal, expected part of figuring out exactly who you are.
Okay, Section 4, sex, sexuality, and reproduction. Time to untangle some commonly confused concepts.
Human life is this big, complex mix of biology, mind, and relationships that honestly get lumped together way too often. So let's untangle them. Sex focuses strictly on biological characteristics. We're talking your chromosomes, hormones, and reproductive organs. Sexuality, however, is a much broader concept. It's all about experience and expression, and encompasses your feelings, attractions, identity, and values. Finally, reproduction is simply the biological process of producing offspring through the union of gametes. Biology influences all three of these, for sure, but they are totally distinct.
So, treating these three concepts as if they're identical is a huge mistake. A person can freely express their sexuality, their affection, identity, and relationships without any intention of reproducing.
And on the flip side, reproduction can occur purely as a biological process without the deep emotional or relational aspects of sexuality. Understanding this distinction is absolutely key to understanding yourself.
Next up is Section 5, the sexual response cycle, where we look at how the mind and body work in total coordination. Before any physical changes occur at all, your brain is the ultimate command center, specifically the cerebral cortex, which is the area responsible for your perception and thoughts, processes physical, visual, or psychological stimuli. It interprets these inputs and sends powerful signals straight down through the autonomic nervous system. This is what actually triggers the physiological changes in the body, so it really does all start in the mind.
This whole complex interaction between your nervous system and hormones usually follows 4 specific phases. Phase 1 is excitement, marked by an increased heart rate and blood flow to the sexual organs. Phase 2 is plateau, where arousal stabilizes and physiological responses like muscle tension start to really intensify. Phase 3 is orgasm, which is the peak response featuring a release of sexual tension through rhythmic muscular contractions. And finally, Phase 4 is resolution, where the body gradually reverses all these changes and returns to its normal resting state. Now, it's really important to note that this is a general scientific model. Not everyone experiences these phases with the exact same rhythm or intensity.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 6, Health, Hygiene, and Assertiveness. This is all about taking control and owning your boundaries.
Maintaining your sexual health requires real, proactive action. It starts with simple daily hygiene. Wash regularly with mild products and wear breathable underwear. But it's also about paying close attention to your body. Never ignore pain, unusual discharge, or irritation. Seriously, seek medical advice. Girls should begin visiting a gynecologist when menstruation starts, and boys should know they can consult a urologist. These specialists are there to help you out reliably. And crucially, if you're engaging in sexual intercourse, using condoms is vital. They are literally the only contraceptive method out there that protects against both unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections.
But health isn't just a physical thing, right? It's deeply psychological and social too. And that brings us to a really powerful concept, sexual assertiveness. This is defined as the ability to express your thoughts, limits, and decisions clearly and respectfully in any situation related to sexuality.
True maturity means honoring consent. It's about being able to say yes or say no, freely and without any pressure whatsoever. It's about respecting your own body and extending that exact same respect to others. It involves communicating your boundaries clearly and making informed decisions rooted in deep self-respect. Because a lack of assertiveness can easily lead to risky, unhealthy situations. Your voice and your boundaries matter immensely.
Understanding your biology is the first, absolutely essential step to owning your identity and shaping a healthy, empowered future. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep owning your journey. So I'll leave you with this one empowering question to think about. As you navigate the complex journey from puberty to adulthood, are you ready to boldly claim your right to set boundaries, respect yourself, and confidently take charge of your own well-being?